Chapter 8. Not a date. Ochako comes to rather confused and more than a little uncomfortable. This would be because her face is all of 3 inches away from Bakugo's. More than that, his arm is around the back of her shoulders to hold her upright, and he's lightly slapping her cheek with his free hand. There's a chemical aura that clings to his palm, which hits Ochako like smelling salts as she breathes in. "Wake the fuck up, round face," Bakugo says in the highest echelons of his most unimpressed tone, and Ochako sits up so fast she almost headbutts him. Bakugo lurches back to keep the scarce inches of space preserved between them. "Easy," he growls. "I'll let you face plant if you drop again." "Oh," Ochako murmurs as the fuzzy feeling wrapped around her head lifts enough for key concepts to get through. She fainted, and Bakugo caught her. "I'm sorry." Bakugo being Bakugo scowls. "You don't need to apologize, weirdo." Like an afterthought, his arm slips out from behind Ochako, leaving him squatting down next to her, knees up around his armpits and head cocked at an angle that could be described as incredulous. "Just don't do it." "I didn't mean to." At this, Bakugo rolls his eyes. "Yeah, no shit," he scoffs, then stands, starting to stretch like he's warming down. Part of Ochako is waiting for some kind of lecture. Push yourself, but not too hard, know your limits kind of deal. Ochako knows and usually sticks to, but then she remembers who she's with, and that kind of self-preservation, moderation doesn't exist in Bakugo's world of absolutes. "Guess we're done?" Ochako says out loud because she doesn't know what's good for her. Stating the obvious around Bakugo isn't sensible at the best of or any times, but she's still woozy and doesn't really know whether she's coming or going anymore. "For now." Bakugo stomps over to the pile of their stuff and without invitation unceremoniously tosses Ochako's water bottle to her. She catches it, but it feels like a lead weight in her jellied arms. Though his back faces her, Bakugo's still engaged. To Ochako's surprise, because he comes out with a muted, "At least until you've had something to eat." Even if he's absolutely right, it's odd to hear from Bakugo. As Ochako gulps down water and then wobbles to her feet, she wonders what went through his head when she keeled over with no warning. Though Ochako's stomach curdles at the thought of food, at the same time she's carnivorously hungry and knows she'll feel better once she's replaced the meal she lost, and then some. Her hands are still trembling as she walks very carefully over to the pile of her stuff, pulling her hands out of her wrist guards and threading them delicately through the sleeves of a hoodie. Then she plonks down on her butt to drag feet out of her boots, threading them out of each other like a toddler kicking off booties. Bakugo, for some reason, is pretending not to watch, but Ochako can tell he is. Under the heat lamp of his gaze, she stretches very gently, knowing her muscles are going to hate her tomorrow anyway, and then with the pace of a dwaddling snail starts to make her way to the exit. Oddly enough, Bakugo goes with her. Not just in the same direction at his own pace, but almost step for step with Ochako. This uncanny habit continues out of the training area around the first few turns of the route back to the dorms and the canteen. Eventually, Ochako can't stand the silence any longer. "You don't have to come with me," she says, and it sounds terribly presumptive when she does. Bakugo snorts like he shares the sentiment. "What happens if you clock out again on the way, moron?" The last part feels defensive, and this is the end of the conversation as far as Bakugo seems to be concerned. He mutely accompanies Ochako all the way to the cafeteria. It's a strange time of day, well past breakfast but too early for lunch, so though the tables aren't busy, there are enough students around for some odd looks to linger over the unlikely pair upon their entry. This turns into some notable staring when Bakugo gives a gruff "sit" that Ochako obeys out of habit and lightheadedness more than anything. Ochako's so out of it, she manages to be blindsided when Bakugo stalks off and then returns with food for both of them, presenting a couple of bowls of rice. Nothing too heavy for her delicate stomach, like he's taken all of this into consideration and is doing it on purpose. Logically, Ochako knows he must be, but it doesn't make it any less strange. Nor is this peculiarity helped by Bakugo's treatment of his actions as if they're some everyday occurrence and not a bizarre, stare-worthy event. Her circuits might still be fried because nothing intervenes in the pathway of a question from Ochako's head to her mouth. Why are you being so nice to me? Bakugo makes a face like this inquiry is an insult of the highest order, and after emptying about half a bowl of hot sauce into his rice, starts shoveling it away like the high-gains eater he is, only stopping long enough to answer. I'm not getting in trouble if you wipe out in the middle of school. I'm okay now, Ochako says, but Bakugo just shrugs like he doesn't believe her. You seemed okay right before you dropped. Bakugo's voice is muted without being consciously hushed. I'll end up with the blame for pushing you too hard. But I wanted you to, Ochako replies more easily than she thought to, a point emphasized by the narrow glare Bakugo shoots at her. Push me, I mean. Ochako would feel way less self-conscious if people would stop watching her and Bakugo as they walk by, but she's long since accepted getting everything she wants just isn't how things go for her. You shouldn't feel bad. I don't feel bad, Bakugo says, like Ochako's accused him of joining the League of Villains. I said I didn't want the blame. Ochako's starting to feel more herself as she gets the first few mouthfuls down into the yawning void of her stomach, tipping her head quizzically to the side with the question, why would it be your fault if I fainted? I don't know! Bakugo's hair triggers twitching like he'll go off any second, and the people coincidentally walking past their table coincidentally start giving it a much wider berth. Just eat your damn food and stop looking at me like that. Ochako tilts her head to the other side, not sure if it's the rush of food hitting her stomach, temperature in the cafeteria, or Bakugo's incendiary company that's making her feel so peculiar. But she's oddly at ease for someone sitting across the table from a strongly smoking volcano. Like, what? Like a fucking weirdo! Bakugo barks louder than necessary, and heads turn before turning right back. Even for people who haven't shared a classroom with him for 2 years, everyone in the school knows Bakugo enough to recognize the originality of this scene. And because Bakugo's never been one for tempering his fury in the presence of spectators, the minor eruption goes off without restraint or the slightest hint of self-consciousness. Bakugo is absolute in the things he commits himself to, but around him, Ochako finds herself inspired to be the same. You're the one who insisted on coming with me, Ochako rallies all the strength she can at this point, which isn't a lot, but is enough to hold her own against Bakugo. Sort of. I told you I was fine, and I am. A part of Ochako's brain seems to be floating about 5 feet above her, looking down on this situation with a wry amusement. It's the source of a voice that wonders if Bakugo could have been worried about her. All right. I believe you. Bakugo snaps this too much to make the sentiment seem very convincing. But don't pull any more shit like that. Bakugo scowling into the last few grains of rice clinging to the bowl. You're no good to me unconscious, so say something next time. There he goes again, Ochako thinks, with all this next time, like it's a given. She supposes it is to him, with the potential he sees in this thing they've been working on. Okay, she pacifies. Then, like testing the temperature of just boiled water, adds, I did ask for a few minutes. That was just you bitching, Bakugo replies, and Ochako understands what it means in non-Bakugo speak. In a surprising turn, he actually offers the real talk translation a moment later. Tell me when it's important. Okay. Ochako finds herself repeating, not quite sure how she's in this position of concluding that Bakugo was concerned when she fainted. Sorry, I didn't say something. Bakugo bristles like this could be aggravating somehow, summed up with a dismissive shrug. Whatever. He pushes his bowl away, seeming angry with it like he is with everything in the world when one thing isn't to his liking. Bakugo crosses his arms in a way Ochako is still coaching herself not to stare at. Only trouble lies down that path. The last rational part of her brain admonishes. You better not do it tomorrow. This, too, catches Ochako by surprise. Tomorrow? Bakugo, being Bakugo, seems deeply insulted by the question, so fires back an aggressive, "You got something better to do?" "No," Ochako squeaks. I just didn't think you... She never finishes the sentence because Ochako realizes, like a splash of cold water to the face, that Bakugo is going to keep wanting to practice this new style, if they dare call it that, with her, and she better get used to it. I mean, sure. After class, she amends, just in time, managing to avert volcanic eruption by means of diplomacy. Yeah, Bakugo growls, eyes darting from side to side like maybe he's picking up on the fairy circle of students that's developed around them as more and more filter into the canteen for the beginning of Lunch Rush's lunch rush. Sitting close, but not that close. Same place. Ochako nods, and then a hint of something not totally foul-tempered flashes through Bakugo's expression. And no more passing out on me. I'll do my best. Ochako truly means it. It takes a long and steamy shower for Ochako to feel quite herself again. But by the afternoon, she's catching up on schoolwork and doing some more stretching. If she and Bakugo are training again tomorrow, she better be in a shape to do so. When a pink whirlwind catches her, Mina goes almost head over heels as she bowls herself into the dorm sofa next to Ochako. The first thing coming out of her mouth sounds like, "Is it true?" When it becomes clear from Ochako's expression that she doesn't understand a lick of it, Mina breaks the noise into distinct words. "Is it true?" she repeats ecstatically. And Ochako's understanding is no better for it. Is what? Mina seems shocked by this. "You and Bakugo! Duh!" "What?" Ochako blurts. "No!" And then again, "What?" "I heard the two of you were eating together." Mina finally gets around to explaining. Yeah," Ochako answers uncertainly, "but it was just rice." "Just nothing," Mina insists. "Was it a date?" "No," Ochako says way too loud. It's true that we ate together, but it wasn't that." Ochako can feel herself blushing, and knows it doesn't help, but that's not what her cheeks have in mind, so there's nothing she can do. "It was just some food after we had a thing." "Hold up. You and Bakugo have a thing?" Mina only echoes Ochako's words back at her, but somehow she makes them sound so much more implicative than they felt in Ochako's head. "No, I mean, yes, I mean, no, I mean, yeah, but just to..." Ochako knows before she even thinks about saying it that Bakugo would be pissed if she starts talking about their training, even if this is the alternative. She resolves to bring it up with him next time. Tomorrow, apparently. But here and now, Ochako's still got a whole situation on her hands. "Look, Mina, it's not like that." She tries anew. "Aw, really?" Mina's disappointment shines with the intensity of a mega-powered lighthouse. "Why are you so excited about it anyway?" Ochako asks. "It's not a big deal." Or so Bakugo has insisted. "With, like, someone else," Mina points out. "Bakugo hardly hangs out with anyone, so you two getting all buddy-buddy overnight isn't supposed to be a big deal?" "Pull the other one, Ochako, you're practically dead." Ochako doesn't know why her hands think it's a good idea, but somehow the most reasonable course of action to stop Mina from carrying on talking about all of this entirely too loud is for Ochako to reach over and put her hand over Mina's mouth. "Not so loud," she hisses with a hint of something that feels like Bakugo's temper rubbing off. But there's only need for one temper like Bakugo's in any school, so Ochako zips her hand back a moment later. "Sorry. Look, it's just whatever this thing with me and Bakugo is, which is nothing like that. He doesn't want me to say anything about it." Ochako goes for a smile. "You get me?" Not at all," Mina replies blithely, "unless you're, like, secretly dating." "No!" Ochako shakes her head so hard it makes her head start spinning. "It's just a different, secret thing." "Ooh, is it to do with what happened in class last week?" Mina starts guessing, which is the last thing Ochako wants or needs right now. "Are you, like, actually training together?" "No!" Ochako emphasizes this even more, and as such, it seems even less convincing. "Then what is it?" Mina concludes at a loss, and Ochako can't really blame her all that much because it shouldn't be as difficult a question as it is. Eventually, Ochako buries her face in her hands with a frustrated noise, mumbling something like, "Why me?" into them half-heartedly. "Can't you just ask Bakugo about it?" After she makes the suggestion, Ochako congratulates herself on finding such a clever end to the scenario. She is wrong, but for a while, it's the thought that counts. Whatever he says is what it is. "Alrighty then," says Mina with a plucky cheer. "Maybe I will." Ochako couldn't know how profoundly she was going to be stitched up by this suggestion, but for a short time it allows her a small, blissfully ignorant window of End of chapter 8.
Hello, my lovelies. Penny here. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's a creation tool that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast, all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.